This is a walkthrough of the game Tower of the Sorcerer, developed by two Japanese guys, Oz and Kenichi, in the late 90s. So this game, for those of you who've never played it before, is basically a strategy where you play as a hero trying to rescue a princess, and you have to go up these floors of a tower. And there are 50 floors total. Every 10 floors there's a boss, and somewhere in between those 10 floors is a sword and a shield, which will increase your offense and defense respectively. Along the way you have to fight monsters and open doors, so you use your health total and your keys as resources to get you ahead. The first item in this game, that major item that I'll be getting, is a red staff, which will allow me to save the game and to look up the stats of the monsters and see exactly how much damage I would take from fighting them, which is really important and useful when you're first starting out. The game is really about knowing exactly what's going to happen later on and planning ahead to deal with it. So a lot of it the first time is running into things that you wouldn't expect and then having to go back and change your strategy. So we're coming up on the first objective here, is that sword. And up to this point there's really nothing else that you can do. This is the only path that you can take. And you'll see that there's a kind of a secret. The wall falls and you can access the sword, and that's going to come up frequently in this game, is little secrets that will save you a lot of resources and health if you know about them. The first real major decision here is, after getting that sword and those keys, is to fight a priest to get a red crystal. Now what this does is increase the offense by 1 so that we can kill bats in 2 hits instead of 3. And the next major decision here is to fight bats to get keys. So on the previous floor we fought a bat and a slime to get 3 keys. Now we're going to fight another bat to get 2 keys. Then the next floor, we're going to take a path through the priest. This is the optimal path, I think, in all cases. It's trading health for saving 2 yellow keys. Then we're going to take these 3 yellow doors to avoid the skeletons, because they're just really too hard to fight at this point. Now, continuing our strategy of getting the keys from the bats, we're going to come through this middle room, and this gives us just enough keys to go up to the next floor. And then we'll see that we'll open enough doors for us to get back 3 keys and move on to the next level. So we use those 3, get 3 back. This floor contains the shield, and again that wall is a secret of sorts. And coming through to the left we get a red crystal and a blue crystal from the bat. I think that's optimal in all cases to get that blue crystal. The amount of hits that we will take is worth paying that life to get that +1 armor, which will reduce all hits by 1 health. Next decision here, which I think is always a good one, is to get that red crystal from the bat. It kills priests in 1 less hit, and we'll be fighting several of them later on, so I think it's always worth it to get that red crystal before fighting any further priests. The next objective is to get a blue crystal from this bat and priest. It's important that this room contains a yellow key because we need to save those keys as we're getting crystals. If we run out and have to fight monsters to get extra keys, then it's really not worth it getting those crystals, because we'll be paying more health in the long run. After getting that first blue crystal, we're going to come back up and fight our way through this mob to open a blue door and get a blue and a red crystal. Even though we have to fight a lot of monsters here, it's actually worth it because this room contains 2 yellow keys. And it's important to get those keys along with those crystals in order for us to access to the next room with more crystals without having to fight extra monsters for keys. So the next major crystal room has a blue and a red crystal on the first floor, and to access it we'll need 2 yellow keys, and at the end we'll get back 1 yellow key. Next, we'll get a red crystal to put our offense at 26. This allows us to kill the skeletons with the sword and shield in 1 less hit. So now we fight that skeleton. We're going to get a blue crystal to raise our defense by 1, a yellow key. And this item here is not really that useful. It every time you visit a merchant or one of those old men, they'll tell you something, and this staff allows you to record what they said. We're going to get a blue crystal by spending 1 yellow key. And then now we're running out of keys, so we're going to talk to this merchant, fighting through the sword and shield skeleton. And we're going to pay 50 gold for a bunch of keys. Next we get some health from a priest. And we're going to go up to the top floor where the boss is and get a blue crystal. So this path we're going to take is going to save us a blue key. We're going to take the long way around fighting these skeletons, and it is going to cost us a bit of health. But this is the way the strategy plays out, is taking this path allows us to conserve blue keys, which will be really important later on. So once we get a blue crystal from that top floor, I'm going to come back down. And we're out of keys, so we're gonna fight some skeletons for keys and a bit of health before going back up and get that red crystal. That red crystal is gonna put us at 27 offense, which is important, so that we can fight the gatekeepers and deal 5 damage a hit instead of 4, which will allow us to kill them in 10 hits instead of 13. With this last red crystal, we have maxed out our stats at 27 for these earlier floors. This is the highest stats we can get from just the sword, shield, and crystals. So we're gonna collect health and then fight the gatekeeper. The gatekeepers guard the red key, and the red key allows us access to the boss. The way the keys work is yellow is very common, blue is special for usually a shorter path to your destination or to access stat crystals, and the red key is always the one that allows you access to fight the boss. So once we have the red key, all that's left right now to do is to get health as much as possible. And we're going to open up pretty much all of the doors that contain health potions. And we're going to fight monsters even when losing a bit of health. The net result is that we gain some health, because we're really going to need every bit of health that we can scrape up at the final battle. This merchant here sells a blue key for 50 gold. And we're not going to use it, but we're going to use it later on. So just might as well get it while we're on the way. We're not going to pray in these early levels because the altars get more powerful the higher floors you go. And if you pray at the lower temples, the higher temples are not going to be as powerful. Because every time you pray, it's going to cost more gold for the next prayer. So it's better to skip the altars at lower levels if you can, and then access them at higher levels. So this strategy doesn't access the temple on this floor, on the 4th floor. We're not going to use it, and that's going to save us a blue key, and it's going to save us higher level prayers. I think the first time you pray it costs 20 gold, then it goes up to 40, then 80, then 120, something like that. So, and the stats, I think for the first one you only get 1 offense or 2 defense. You have a choice between health, offense, and defense. And defense is usually double the amount of offense that you can get. So early on it's good to pray for offense, but then as you get higher, it turns out actually that defense is more cost efficient in the long run. But it really depends on your strategy. Although for the highest score, you'll be playing for defense most of the time, which I actually found surprising, but it works out better. So we've done everything we need to get to this boss and scrape by with enough health to survive. (27 stats is our max, and we're going to survive this battle with 11 health. If we wanted to max our health and stats and gold for the 10th floor, we wouldn't have taken the strategy that we have, but this is more of a long run planning, and what we've gained here from making all those sacrifices to our health and to our stats is 2 blue keys, which will be very useful later on. So that sets us in a good position to take on the harder monsters in the next floor.